Hey, what is going on YouTube? Aaron here. We are back, ladies and gentlemen, and guys, we have another epic replay for you guys here today. This one was taken in the Zao, obviously, and we are here on Tears of the Desert. But more importantly, the game mode is Epicenter. And the moral of this story, or the main topic rather, is Ptfo. And if you don't know what that means, it is play the objective. Yes, you guys hopefully can figure out the F. In this game, our team does a pretty poor job starting out, and then we kind of bring it together at the end. I know that Epicenter is not the more popular game mode, however, you cannot simply give it up just because you do not like to play the game. Similar to domination or even capture the base, if you let the bases go uncontested, you will lose in a matter of minutes. As we take our first salvo here, trying to kite away, that is the main playstyle of the Zao. I was trying to break this video up into two separate play styles. Number one, how to play cruisers, such as the Zao, the Henry, and a few others, as we get potentially a little bit lucky. However, if you know anything about armor angling in the Zao, we were rather protected when you're pushing yourself past that 45-degree angle. This position here, where we barely have 3 out of 4 guns on target, is going to be your best friend in terms of armor angling as well as pumping out that DPM. I want to draw your attention back to the center of the map. However, as we DPM this Heisen a little bit, as I've mentioned so many times, never put out a single fire, especially with a ship like the Zao, with a commander like A.L. Otago. Now, unfortunately, we don't have A.L. Otago, but anyway, back to the point of the ships in the middle there. If you'll pay attention to our 2 friendly destroyers, they were doing the correct thing, so I want to give them a huge compliment, and that is when the Daring and the enemy Shimakaze showed up. But being the team player and the good position that our boat was in, we have probably just taken half of the health of the Daring, and we are in a very good position, not only protected from island cover, but as you can see, we are now not detected as that Daring has gone into his smoke screen. So paying attention to your positioning in a cruiser is of the utmost importance. On top of that, we are angling correctly and avoiding, being broadside to the mass of the enemy battleships out there. On top of that, we are just pumping out an enormous amount of DPM, basically all plus plays from our position on the map here. The Daring is once again spotted, so we are signaling for our team to shoot at him as well as shooting at him ourselves as we take our first epic reload. It is at this point in the game where I want to draw your attention to the minimap. We have 1 destroyer so far out of position. I don't think he is able to torpedo anything or even get his guns on target. We have 2 battleships who have backed up towards the edge of a map, and on our flank we have 1 battleship pushing ahead where he is potentially in cross-torpedo territory. So this is kind of what I was trying to draw my attention to earlier. Initially, our team does a decent job, but it's these points at the game around the 11 to 10 minute mark where you're 5 minutes into a game, which most games are won or lost. If you've kind of survived that initial onslaught, as you can see, we're not really down. We're tied in ships, although we have lost 1 destroyer, and we're probably going to lose that Yamato very shortly. But it is this point, like I said, where you're just, if you don't position correctly or look at the mini-map or play the effing objective, well, that is the reason you're going to notice a 5 to 10% drop in your win percentage. On top of that, you're just going to not have as much fun. I know some people take it to heart sometimes when I talk about playing the objective or playing correctly, and they think it's an attack on them personally. But if you just kind of pay attention, to your teammates, you're going to put yourself in much better positions. So at this point in the game, I made a decision to go back towards the center. Despite us having 2 battleships back there and a lone battleship pushing on the flank we started on, a mass of the enemy ships are over there on that flank, and I had a decision to either capture this epicenter or just let our team lose. You will notice here we lose a mass of points rather quickly, and I'm not sure the tick rate of the epicenter, when you have all 3 caps, but I can tell you that games end a lot sooner when you do not get at least 1 or 2 of those capture points. However, I could not push directly in at this point. Number 1, I don't really know where those destroyers are. And number 2, you can see I'm still being rained on by battleships at long range. It may have been because I was in the Zao, which was at the time a newer ship, or because I'm a CC, or because I'm a juicy cruiser. It doesn't really matter, but I was being focused a good, majority of the time in this game. And that is when the Shimakaze decides to come out at 3.9 kilometers. I feel like Shima players are just completely unaware of their surroundings and they try to sneak in the backfield, any chance they get. However, it is not going to work out that well for this lad as we launch a rack of torpedoes. We connect a beautiful salvo of HE. He decides to pop his smoke for some reason, but it doesn't matter as Aaron increases his torpedo hit percentage. Thank you, sir. Good night. Thanks for playing. In the meantime, though, like I said, we are in a rather tricky position. We were set on a double fire there as I ping the objective for the 4th time. If you pay attention to the mini-map, both of our destroyers are worrying about one destroyer over there on the flank, which, in hindsight or, being objective about their play, it is your job as a destroyer to try and focus or deal with other enemy destroyers. However, in a situation where you're down almost 300 points in, at the 9-minute mark, it is not really that important to focus on the destroyers. We had a destroyer in the center, and while he was, kind of outnumbered after our first DD did die, leaving the objective to go hunt whatever he is hunting out there is just not a winning play. So I bestowed it upon myself to try and eliminate other enemy destroyers, shooting at them at long range, connecting a few hits there, as well as trying to get the epicenter. So at this point, I realized that I am going to be the only one that really wants to play this objective, and the battleships are far enough away as we connect a beautiful salvo, get the permanent fire on that Hayate, and now we have 2 kills on the enemy destroyers as our destroyer goes down. However, we do not have the epicenter. And in order to win a game of epicenter, as Aaron takes a pretty well-placed torpedo from that daring, you have to capture the epicenter. I know it is a shocking revelation that in an objective team-based game, you have to play in an objective team-based manner. As I ping the epicenter for the 5th time, I know that it is probably rather annoying, seeing pings like that, but if you're down 400, or I guess it's 300 now, but if you're down 300 points and somebody's pinging the objective, it might behoove you to go get it. But alas, seeing that, we are rather protected, those battleships have kind of backed off now, and our team did a rather decent job of getting the eliminations, we are going to go ahead and push our way into this objective. Now, there's a few points I want to talk about here. Number one, we are running a little bit of a concealment build. As soon as I say that, we get detected, but you want to try and avoid shooting in a situation like this if you have the opportunity. Now, of course, we are detected, so it wouldn't really matter. However, if you are concealed, I would avoid losing detection in order to get to this island cover. Now, like I just said, we are detected. We know that the destroyer is probably on our right as we look back, and we have 2 or 3 full health battleships, and we are requesting their presence. But basically, I see a lot of players in a situation where they are just not in the right position to shoot, and they go guns hot, and then, of course, they make themselves a juicy target for the last remaining battleships. But here, I am pretty, I'm between a rock and a hard place. I have probably a destroyer to my right. He probably worked his way around those islands, but I was detected for a majority of the time. On top of that, I had 2 battleships who do want to displace me. However, we're going to get nice and close to this island, at which point you can see we are capturing all 3 of the epicenters here. But I want you to look at the points. We are up on ships by 2, and we are still down nearly 400 points. That is how fast the swing goes in epicenter, and if you don't pay attention to it, you will lose a lot of games. As I said in the beginning, this game mode particularly, I hate just as much, if not more, than capture the base. I truly hate capture the base though, because people, they just lose all sense of directionality. They group up, they bunch up, they remove crossfires, and basically do everything you shouldn't do in order to win a game. I've said this for probably the last 2.5 to 3 years, but I will say it once again. I know we have a lot of new viewers, so welcome, but you are going to lose some games. Some games are unwinnable. However, I feel like the amount of games that are lasting 5 and 6 minutes could be easily avoidable if everyone just tried to play in a more team-based manner instead of going out, YOLO rushing their boat, saying you got 80k and that's a good game. If you put your ship in the right spot, combined with some team support, the overall experience, even when you lose, is going to be a lot better. Which brings me to my final point, kind of talking about this style of cruiser and cruiser play. Now that we have gotten the caps, we are able to sit here and basically damage farm. These battleships have to push into us if they want to win. On top of that, we have a little bit of this island cover here, as well as, spots from our teammates, and you combine that with some decent armor and a little bit of armor angling, and we have now effectively utilized a huge chunk of our HP, gotten 3 capture points, eliminated 2 destroyers, and just ticked over the 100,000 damage mark. I want you guys to guess the XP that we get in this game. Now, we do actually manage to tick a good bit more of damage throughout the remainder of this game. However, if we would have been damage farming for a majority of this game, we would have probably lost in terms of points. If you actually notice, we are still down, about 275-ish points. However, like I mentioned, the tick rate in Epicenter is far greater than domination or even capture the base, so we are able to tick these points back, in a faster manner than we would have in other game modes. And of course, rounding out the educational lesson here, we just took a massive salvo from the Conqueror. He landed a good bit of shells, and at this point, I'm like, okay, damage aside, we just need to live, as ship trades in this situation are not really what our team needs. And I have a replay that has just been sitting there, and honestly, I might splice it in with the Henry of a Worcester lobbing a ship at 18 plus kilometers when we are up about 20 or 30 points. He dies, we lose the point swing, and the game is a loss as a result. The game is not that difficult to kind of follow the points and understand in terms of, okay, I don't need to die in this situation, it's pointless for me to shoot, etc. So, just paying attention to things like that, the capture points, and of course, your position as a ship, as this Conqueror, comes to ram me here. It does get a little bit complicated. As you can see, we just ticked the high caliber there. So from 99k to 164 in 2.5 to 3 minutes there. Sort of proving my point about playing the objective and gaining position. We've got a beautiful spot here behind this island cover. We got the caps. Unfortunately, we don't really get the kills to follow it. Kills, though, are truly irrelevant. Yes, they are nice to get, and of course the Kraken medal everyone wants to get. However, I would much rather play a game like this where we do get 2 essential kills, 6 defend ribbons, 3 solo caps, and just an overall, objectively well-played game. Reading what our team needed, putting our ship in the right position, attracting a lot of damage in the process, as well as getting, as you can see, the high caliber medals we just talked about, a good amount of damage ourselves. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I know I can sound a little bit preachy sometimes in these videos. However, I know that, a good portion of my viewer base likes these style of videos because it kind of helps them play cruisers a little bit better. And in my opinion, cruisers are some of the, people think cruisers are pure damage. And of course, that is a main objective of them. However, when your team is not fulfilling the role, the cruiser is the perfect ship with a bunch of versatility that can fulfill that role, in order to get your team the win. I'd much rather play a game like this where I get 165k, 2, objective-based kills and a couple caps, because it is a much better XP score than getting, 200k sitting in the back of the map on a loss. 3678 there in first place, and then nearly a 15 to 1600 point drop off in second. I will say those battleships that were alive were at least alive, and they did get a fair score, but you can just kind of see the XP disparity. So I hope you guys enjoyed that one. I've got a bunch of videos coming up. Let me know what you guys thought of this in the comments down below. Did you enjoy this style of video? Do you want more, tutorial types with maybe some more in-depth infographics or, arrows or things like that? But let me know in the comments. I love you guys. Hey, run out. Peace.